Well, hello there, everyone. It's so nice for you to be a part of my podcast today. It's so nice to have you here. And I just want to take a moment to say hello from wherever you're from. Welcome. So glad you're here to join us for the Abundant Wellness Podcast. We are about to get started. It is 5 minutes after the hour, so I'm a few minutes late. I'm sorry about that, but I'm here. We're ready. We're not too late, and it gives people a little more extra time to get here. But without further ado, because it is past the hour, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me a moment to just get that together. Okay, so my screen share should be fully on your screen right now, saying welcome to Abundant Wellness. Let me check that, make sure that is up to par, and give people a few more seconds to get here. Okay, so my screen share my screen. Okay, so I am seeing that I am up and running, and that is great. That is good. So here we are in the month of September. We have a new topic. Every month I have a different topic, and I just really take the time to dive into that and get to learn it well. And I will tell you in a bit what the topic is going to be for September, but welcome. Most of us have already started school, even the college students. There may be some colleges where you haven't quite started yet, but you will be starting this month. My son, for example, he goes to college on the West Coast in the state of Washington, and he doesn't start school until September 30th. Imagine that, right at the end of September. So we're still kind of adjusting to that new school year. Hope all is going well for you all, and you're off to a good start. Just by learning some of these health principles, it's going to help you to get off to a good start and to continue so that you end the year off well. So I want to let you know again that Abundant Wellness podcast, we meet every second and fourth Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I am located in the state of Texas. We are on Central Standard Time. So I meet at 3 o'clock at that time. It's the same every month. My name is Joanne McDermott. Abundant Wellness is brought to you by me, Joanne McDermott. I am a board certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. I am also a mental health coach. Let me take a few minutes to explain to you what a functional nutritionist is, or functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. I know that's a little bit of a mouthful there. So I really am helping people to find the underlying root causes of their health challenges. I'm going to kind of give you a scenario. So let's say that you're having symptoms, and these symptoms have been going on, they're out of the norm. Let's say, for example, that you are noticing that you are urinating much more frequently than you used to before, even when you haven't drank extra water or extra fluids at all. You're also noticing that you're really thirsty all the time. Why am I thirsty all the time? I'm drinking, and I'm so thirsty. But even when you're not drinking, you're finding that you're going to the bathroom. You notice that something is definitely off. It's not going away. You decide to go to the doctor, and you explain to the doctor your symptoms. And the doctor decides, okay, you know what? Let's do some diagnostics. So he decides to do some tests, run some tests. He has your blood drawn. Maybe he has you do an ultrasound or a CAT scan, or something like that. some kind of x-ray. Finally, he gets the results and he sees in your blood work that your blood sugar levels are elevated, definitely much higher than normal. And he might decide to give you a diagnosis as diabetes because it's the classic symptoms. You know, your diagnostics is indicating that. I'm not saying that that's what the diagnosis that your doctor will give you, but I'm just kind of giving a little scenario here. So your doctor gives you the diagnosis, diabetes, you have diabetes. So then he decides, I'm going to give you a prescription. I'm going to give you a prescription for metformin. That is one of the more popular medications, prescription medications for diabetes to help to manage it, manage your blood sugar levels, bringing it back down so that it removes your symptoms. You're not thirsty all the time. You're not having to go to the bathroom all the time. Now, this is where I come into play. So after you see the doctor, you get your diagnosis, you get your medication, you come and see the functional nutrition counselor. I am going to try to determine, or no, I'm going to work towards finding out what is the underlying root cause of this diabetes happening. Why is your blood sugar going up? What's causing it? What is brewing or what's happening deep down inside there? I'm like an investigator. I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to look. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to maybe look at your medical reports. And I'm going to find out, why is this happening in the first place? Because you see, if it's happening there and we've taken away the symptoms by the medication, whatever is happening there is still happening there. The medication is just kind of masking it. And you know, what do we learn in the medical realm? You know, what do they tell you? Early detection is good. You know, so the sooner you find out what's really brewing down inside there, and then you work to fix that, you know, the better your chances of, you know, getting cured from it, you know, the better chances of you having good health. Because if you continue to let it brew and brew and brew underneath there, it's going to get worse and it might result in other complications later. So yeah, that's why it's always better to take care of things as early as possible and to really nip it in the bud. Otherwise, chances are you're going to have to be depending on this medication for the rest of your life. And sometimes medication brings along side effects. So wouldn't it be nice to just figure out what's happening? Let's get rid of it. Don't have to be on the medication for the rest of my life. And then the way I go about doing that after digging and investigating, I am using nutrition or diet and lifestyle to help to improve your health or to remove that, you know, that health challenge that you're having there. Why do I use nutrition or diet and lifestyle? Because according to the NIH, National Institute of Health, over 90% of chronic illnesses, things such as diabetes, is directly related to poor choices in our diet and our lifestyle. Yes, that's what the fact says. So that's what I'm going to go into to help to get things back to normal. That is what I do as a functional nutrition lifestyle practitioner. And by the way, I am also a mental health coach. I learned how to do that because also as a functional nutrition counselor, I am treating holistically. I'm not only looking at your physical, what's going on there, but I'm looking at your emotional, your mental, and even your spiritual. That's what I do. And I'm so happy to be here with you today. Got to throw out my disclaimer. The information provided here is intended to promote overall well-being and is not a substitute for personalized professional care. So if you are seeing your doctor, your physician's assistant, your nurse practitioner, whoever your practitioner may be, I definitely want to encourage you to continue to see them. And as I explained earlier, I am just all about partnering, a partnership with them. Viewers are encouraged to be empowered by learning how the body functions, allowing them to take an active role in their own health goals and decisions. I love to be able to share with you and help you to learn and see how your body works and what's normal, what's not normal, and why. Because you see, the truth is, you know you better than anyone else. You know how you feel. You know when something is off. You know when you don't feel right. I can't tell you how you feel. You also know what works and what doesn't work for you. So I kind of see it as a partnership between the doctor, the nutrition counselor, and yourself, between the patient, all of us just coming together and figuring out what is going to be the best option or the best way to be able to heal you. And it's so important for you to be a part of that. It's so important for you to be a part of your health care because you know how you feel better than anyone else and you know how your body works better than anyone else. So my disclaimer out to you today. So let's get right into our topic for today. So for the month of September, we are learning about temperance. Temperance. What is temperance? Temperance is moderation of the good and abstinence of the bad. So, according to Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 and 23, it says, "The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control," otherwise known as temperance. So, one of the character traits that God desires for us to have is temperance, or having that self-control. So let's take a little deeper look into what is temperance. Temperance means self-control. It is the governing of one's desires in all things. It describes a person as having powerful control over strong passions. So think of something that you really want to do, and you know you shouldn't do it, or you really shouldn't do it, but you know you really should do it. Or let's say that I just had 2 pieces of cake, I just had 2 desserts, I really want that third one because it tastes so good, but I'm actually full. So practicing that self-control would be, okay, I'm not going to eat that third piece of dessert. Or it might be, that person makes me so angry, I just want to yell and scream at them right now, but I'm going to bite my tongue. I am going to not allow myself to explode and yell and maybe say things that I might regret saying later. That is practicing temperance or practicing self-control. Now, in order to be healthy, we want to practice temperance. Temperance is maintaining a balance in all aspects of our lives. That which works for our best benefit. So it's not only having self-control by, not overindulging or, doing too much or too little, but it's also taking a look at that which would be a benefit to us. What is going to be a benefit to us? What's going to be helpful to us? We want to incorporate those things in our lives. And when we do that, we are practicing temperance. And so what aspects of our lives would that entail? So they would be things such as diet, what we're eating or what we're not eating, our sleep, our work, our play, our emotions, and exercise. So let's take a closer look at each thing. Our weight, for example. Now, we don't want to undereat, right? Because then we are going to be underweight, which means that we are going to be undernourished. If we are not having enough to eat, we are not going to have the energy. We are not going to be able to think. We're not going to have the strength. Food is fuel, and it is what gives us the energy to do things. If we are not getting that fuel, then we are going to be tired. We're not going to be able to function. So it's important to make sure that we are getting that nourishment and we get that through food. And we want to make sure we're getting enough food. But on the other hand, we might overeat, and that's not good either. That can lead to us being overweight. And with that overweight can come a list of unhealthy conditions, or just unhealthy conditions like obesity, or we can get diabetes from that, fatty liver, even insulin resistance, and that's what causes us to have that diabetes. So we don't want to be overeating, we don't want to have too much weight either, but we want to have that balance, right? So we want to be sure that the calories that we're taking in, which we take in through food, is also equivalent to the amount of calories that we are exerting out. That's what helps us to have that balance. So what are calories? Calories is a unit of energy. There are several units of energy, but I'm going to focus more on the calories because that's what we think about when we're eating food. We talk about how many calories that we should be eat, on a given day. And that's what helps us to be able to maintain our weight. So let's say, for example, let's look at a woman, for example, and it is said that the average amount of calories that a woman should eat, let's say an average height woman, average size woman, the number of calories that she should eat to maintain her weight is about 2,000 calories per day. So if she eats that much, she won't get too skinny, she won't get too fat, and then she'll have the energy to carry out her daily activities. So what does 2,000 calories a day look like? How much food is that? Here's a little idea, a little scenario. So maybe she would eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. She's not eating any snacks in between. And maybe breakfast can be oatmeal with some fruits and nuts. Lunch could be a burrito or a wrap that has some rice and beans in it, some vegetables in there. And dinner can be a soup and a salad. The person eats that, they should be able to maintain their weight and be able to have all the energy that they need, for that day to carry out their functions. But, I wanted to point out that the calories that you burn off is not only you're walking around, it's also your thinking, just thinking and trying to solve difficult situations or difficult problems, like a difficult math problem, just thinking and then exerting your mind, that is burning calories. But it's not only that, it's not only the moving that you might doing, the walking, it's not only the thinking, but it's your daily functions of your body. When you are digesting food, that is giving off a certain amount of energy as well. So, or your heart beating, these things that happen in our body that happen automatically, those are exerting a certain amount of calories. And that's why it's so important for us to eat. Think about it. When the last time you were very sick and you were in bed, okay, you weren't doing a whole lot. You were laying there in bed, but they encouraged you to still eat anyway. Because you know what? Your heart is still beating, you're breathing, your lungs are expanding as you're inhaling and exhaling. There is still certain body functionings that are happening, and that is what causes us to burn calories. And so we want to make sure that we're eating enough. Again, not too much, but not too little. So what else do we have to be balanced in? Our eating, also our drinking, especially when it comes to water. Is it possible for us to drink too much water? The problem tends to be that we're drinking too little water. But I'm going to tell you that it is possible to drink too much water. Well, how can you know if you are drinking too much water? That could have happened to any one of you out there. I want to share with you the urine color chart. So let's look at the very bottom here. And we'll start at the bottom here. So I want you to think about the last time you've gone to the toilet, or I want you to keep this in mind the next time you go to the toilet to urinate. And I want you to look inside the toilet bowl and look at the color of your urine. Sometimes it might be very, very brown. We call this brownish. If it is that dark, you need to drink water right now. Might be a little bit lighter, what we call honey. You need to drink water. You haven't drunk enough water. It's not as urgent as the brownish. Maybe it might be yellow, but it's a dark yellow. You still need to drink water. You have not drank enough water. Now it's a light yellow. Okay, now this is more normal. If you see that color in the toilet, that is more normal. That's not too bad. You're doing okay. Ideally, we want it to be a pale yellow. So we want it to be yellow, but a pale yellow. When we see that, you are well hydrated. But now, sometimes it might be so clear, it looks like it's just water. You can't even tell that you urinated at all in the toilet bowl. When your urine looks like that, you have drank too much water. Now, it's not so much that you're going to get sick from that, but what happens is the water is going right through you. So the times when that happens is when we are just drinking too much water within a short period of time. Some of you might feel like, okay, you know what? I'm supposed to drink so much water a day. Let me just guzzle this whole bottle of water right now. And I'm glad that you're trying to drink that water, but it doesn't really work to drink it all at once, because what'll happen is it'll go right through you. Water is one of those things that does not need to be absorbed through your small intestines, so we don't have to wait for it to get to your small intestines to be absorbed into your bloodstream. The minute it hits your stomach, it can be absorbed directly right into your bloodstream, and it will just come out if there's too much water inside of you, because your body is always trying to find that balance. And so what happens is when you drink too much water at once, it goes right through you, and it doesn't really benefit the way your body needs to benefit it, because it's just too much all at once. So when we are drinking our water, we really want to be taking sips throughout the day. Now, I know some of you are feeling like, but then I do that and I have to go to the bathroom and I just want to get it over and done with. But it's really defeating the purpose. It's not serving you. I would like to encourage you to still take those sips throughout the day, but maybe you can take smaller sips. And just really trying to be consistent with that, not worrying so much about, but I gotta drink this whole thing by the end of the day, because we want to know that that water that you're drinking is serving you. So yes, you can drink too much water and not necessarily get sick, but just have that water go through. And how do we know that? Because we are looking at the color of our urine. So how much water should we be drinking? If I was to give you a little bit of a guide, it's really going to go by our weight. So let's say that you weigh 120 pounds. You want to drink about 60 ounces of water. Now, how much is 60 ounces of water? Well, I'm sure many of us on many occasions have been given a water bottle. This one is called Niagara. This is my favorite water to drink. If I drink out of a water bottle, I don't like the other brands, but I really like the way the Niagara taste. And anyway, yeah, so this is about an average bottle of water to get in your daily water intake. If you weigh 120 pounds, you want to drink about 4 of those bottles of water. That's not too much, right? Maybe for some of you that might be a bit overwhelming, that might be much. Well, I want to encourage you, don't start with 4, start with 2. Maybe even start with 1. And just practice taking sips throughout the day. Get used to that. And then as you get used to that, you can increase it a little bit at a time, so that you get used to it and you're able to continue doing it. That's the trick about learning a new habit. You just got to do it a little bit gradually at a time. Because if you do too much all at once, you'll do good for about a day or two, a week or two, and then you'll just stop because you didn't allow yourself to adjust and get used to the increments or get used to the change. Anyway, that gives you a little idea. And just a little side note there, when it comes to bottled water, it's always best to use your water bottles that you can reuse over and over again that are stainless steel that's inside. The softer the bottle, the more you can squeeze it and it can bend easily, the less healthier, that plastic is. It can cause, anyway, just, I'm going to call it just, a toxic substance that bottle can give off. So, I mean, when you're thirsty and you have nothing else, it's better to still get some water. But, as a rule, you can have that water bottle, stainless steel is best. You can also use the plastic bottles, although I would say that the stainless steel is the best. But if you do use plastic, you want to make sure it's hard. The harder the plastic, the less that it releases, toxic substances. And of course, you want to make sure that it says BPA free. All right, so what else do we want to be temperate in? We want to be temperate in our sleep. We had learned last month that we should be getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day, more or less. Now, if we don't get enough sleep, we could experience some of these symptoms here. We might feel sleepy during the day, or we might feel irritable. We might get a headache. You ever get a headache? It could be that you didn't sleep enough. You might have low energy. You're going to have poor motivation. Oh, I don't feel like doing this. I just can't get myself motivated to do this. It might not be laziness. It could just be that you have not gotten enough sleep. You might also experience decreased brain function. You just cannot get yourself to focus and to concentrate. What is wrong with me? You may have not gotten enough sleep. It may not seem like it at first because, okay, I got up, I was able to start my day, but your ability to function and just kind of get on with the day and get on with things is limited. You're struggling a little bit. Maybe you've gotten a little bit too little sleep. But we also don't want to oversleep. We don't want to be sleeping too much because that is not going to make us feel good either. In fact, sometimes we are sleeping too much because we are depressed. Maybe we're having some underlying conditions of diabetes too. Maybe we have some heart disease. Oversleeping can lead to being overweight. We might have some pain. We're going to have trouble concentrating. So we don't want to oversleep. And if we are oversleeping, we have to be questioning and wondering, why are we oversleeping too much? It can be a sign or a symptom of something else that's going on that needs some attention, and we need to check into that to make sure that all is well or fix whatever the underlying problem that may be happening there. So how much sleep is enough sleep? Well, that is going to vary according to the age that we're at. Young babies, newborns, they sleep pretty much most of the day. And then the toddler, well, those toddlers, they need that afternoon nap. What happens if they don't get that nap? They are just so irritable. Nothing makes them happy. They can't, they can't think properly. They're just not happy eating. They're not happy going outside to play. They're just so easily upset. And the parent knows right away, okay, you need a nap. So our toddlers need to get some sleep. As teenagers, we need some sleep. Maybe not as much as the baby and the toddler, but we still need that sleep because our bodies are growing and changing and developing. Then when we finally get to adulthood, and that's the longest span in our lives, so your average adult needs between 7 to 9 or 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single night. And it really cannot be less than 7 hours. If you're getting less than 7 hours of sleep, you are not going to be getting enough sleep. Even when we get into our older years, retirement, we still need like that 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Maybe a little bit less, but I know sometimes people say, oh, when they're older, they don't need as much sleep. But I would say, no, you still need the 7 to 9, because when we get older, our body parts aren't working as well as they used to. We need to slow down. We need to kind of take things a little slower. We need to rest a little bit more. So we want to make sure to really keep that temperance that I'm talking about. Not too much, not too little. Just that right amount of sleep is really going to help to keep us healthy. Now, we want to make sure that we're also keeping a balance between physical exercise and mental exercise. Now, there are people that just do a lot of mental, especially our students out there. They are studying and studying and studying and studying. Studying again all day today, the next day, all week they've just studied. Or maybe somebody that works, in an office, and you're sitting down in front of that computer and you're reading and you're analyzing and you're fixing and you're writing. A lot of mental activity. Mental activity is good, but we don't want to just be doing all mental and no physical. It's important to take a break from that mental and be physically active. You may need to just take a break from that computer, from those books, go outside and take a walk, or go to the gym, or play a game, play a sport, because it is so important to be able to have that balance. And again, of course, we don't want to be doing all the playing and the physical activity and the lifting and weights and exercising, and we're just doing that all the time, and we're not taking the time to exercise our brain. Yes, we want to have balance. We want to have balance in our work, our rest, and our play. We want to make sure we're getting enough rest, and when we're not resting, we want to make sure that we're doing that work, because that mental activity helps to keep our brains working good, but we also want to have that time to play. Work and fun. Work and fun. We want to be sure that we are having that balance. Work is good for us because it keeps us physically active, as opposed to being sedentary. We reduce the risk of becoming stiff and out of shape. You know what? Can you stand up and then drop something on the floor and bend down to pick it up off the floor without it being a struggle? If you're struggling, this can be an indication of your state of health. Work also helps to keep us mentally engaged. Now, if we're doing that mental work, it's recommended that after a person retires, that they should learn a new skill, like reading a book or doing a puzzle, because we want to keep that mind challenged. Again, but whether mental or physical, it should be balanced, and there should be an alternation between physical and mental exertion. Now, Genesis chapter 2, verse 15 says, "Then the Lord took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to tend it and keep it." They were working. And then what? Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 says, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. So there's a time to work, and there's a time to not work, to stop, and to just rest. The Bible tells us, the Bible shows us this, and that is our blueprint of life, to experience life in the most beneficial way. It's interesting how it points out that we should take a time to rest. 6 days we work, so, most of those days we're working, but the seventh day, which is called the Sabbath, and we know that that Sabbath is Saturday because the Bible, when it talks about the Sabbath, it's referring to the Sabbath of the Jews. And in this day and age today, you go to any Jewish person and you ask them what day is the Sabbath, and they will tell you that it is today. It's Saturday. Now, what should our play be like? So remember, I had that circle and I said we should take time for work. Now that work should be physical exertion and mental exertion. We should take a time to rest. And then there's a time for playing, for recreation. But there's a right type of recreation and a not very good type of recreation. We want to do the good type of recreation. Let's look at this definition of recreation that's found in Education, page 207. This is found from the book Messages to Young People. Or also, I'm sorry, it's two books here. Education, page 207, and Messages to Young People, page 362. This is written by Ellen G. White. And it says there is a distinction between recreation and amusement. Recreation, when true to its name, recreation, tends to strengthen and build up, calling us aside from our ordinary cares and occupation. It affords refreshment for mind and body, and thus enables us to return with new vigor to the earnest work of life. Amusement, on the other hand, is sought for the sake of pleasure and is often carried to excess. It absorbs the energies that are required for useful work and thus proves a hindrance to life's true success. So, in other words, I want you to think of a time when you've gone on vacation and you were excited to go on vacation. You get a rest, a break from your work. Definitely something to look forward to. And you go out there and you engage in all these activities. And then when you come home, what's the old saying? I need a vacation from my vacation. If you end up having a vacation like that, where you need to get a vacation from your vacation, you have not experienced true recreation. That's what it's saying here. Recreation is where you're getting that break from work, but you are being, whatever the activity is that you are involved in, it ends up helping you to feel invigorated. You truly get a rest. You truly get a break. You feel this just new life and vitality coming inside of you, so that when you are ready to go back to work, or when that vacation time is over, you're ready to tackle work again. You don't feel like you need a second break. So keep that in mind. And usually those kind of activities, recreational activities, it usually is just being out in nature, being at the beach and seeing the ocean, or seeing these beautiful, tall, huge mountains that are covered with snow, or just some kind of beautiful scenery. Those type of things just tend to invigorate and help you to truly rest, truly get a break, and be ready for work once again. We also need to be temperate in our emotions. Let's look at the different emotions. Anger, opposite would be peace. Irritable versus calm. Confidence versus sensitivity. Complaining versus having a spirit of gratitude. Depression versus happiness. Now, some of these emotions, we really don't even want to have them at all, while there are some here where sometimes it's good to have a little of one, and other times good to have a little of the other. So for example, anger versus peace. Now I would say that there's a time and place for anger. We just need to be careful about how we deal with that anger and how long we carry that anger. Because sometimes anger is what kind of pushes us or motivates us to move, or do a certain action that we may have otherwise not done because of fear, or just intimidation, and we get angry enough and it moves us to do that activity to try to bring about change, or change for the good. So there are times and places for that. Of course, if we are just getting very angry and we blow up and we're angry for we're holding that resentment in, that is not good. And it's better for us to have some peace. Irritableness, well, we don't ever want to be irritable. It's always better to be calm. Confidence versus sensitivity. Well, we want to be confident, but we don't want to be prideful. And then sensitivity. Well, it's important to be sensitive to other people's feelings. Maybe, someone where they had a loved one that died, and you want to be sensitive to how they may be feeling and what they're experiencing right now. That's when sensitivity is good. But then again, sensitivity can go too much on the other side when we are just very easily upset, and getting very easily insulted and just being oversensitive. The person may not have meant it the way it sounded or meant it the way we took it. We're just taking it the wrong way because we're a little bit oversensitive. That can be detrimental to our health. Complaining, always best to never complain. Now, sometimes we vent about things, but that should be short-lived and, just a short expression, of what might be going on, and then we shouldn't continue to complain because that is going to put us in a certain state of mind that is not healthy, which is going to affect our physical health. It's affecting our mental, it will affect our physical as well. The more we can have an attitude of gratitude, the happier we're going to be, the healthier we are going to be. And of course, we don't want to be depressed. If we can be happy all the time, or, the more happy we can be, the healthier we are going to be. Now, sometimes we can't help the way we feel. Sometimes we're feeling depressed. Sometimes we're feeling oversensitive. Sometimes we're lacking confidence. Sometimes we're angry. And that's okay. Sometimes we can't help it. But when you get to that point and you know that, you know what, I shouldn't continue to feel this way. I know this is not good for me. What I would recommend is you reach out and let somebody help you with those feelings. It may require seeing a trained professional, and it is okay, and they can really help you. You would be amazed, but there is help. There is a way to get you to the place where you want to be so you can experience better health. And we also want to be balanced in our exercise. How many of you out there love to exercise? How many of you out there hate to exercise? Or maybe you lack the motivation to exercise. Okay, you want to, but you just don't feel like doing it you feel that way all the time. As much as exercise is good for us, too much can wreak havoc or cause our health to take a turn in the wrong direction. Did you know that too much exercise is not good for you? There is actually a condition, and it is called metabolic overtaxing syndrome. I'll say that again, metabolic overtaxing syndrome, and that is when you are exercising too much and it's creating negative consequences in your body. That is so possible to happen. Exercise is good, it's excellent for us, but you don't want to overdo that either. Let me give you some symptoms of what overexercising might look like. Inability to recover from workouts. You just want to take a nap afterwards. You should not be feeling like that. Loss of motivation, okay? You exercise this week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Next week, Monday comes, I don't want to go exercise. That could be a sign of just overdoing it too much. Depression or irritability. Exercise is supposed to make you feel good. You're releasing endorphins. But if you're finding that you're just irritable, you might be doing too much. Or increased body weight. Now, I know that's a real surprise because exercise is supposed to make you lose weight. Well, you know what? Sometimes some people will exercise and they will gain weight. And why is that? That is because if you are pushing yourself more than your body is physically able to handle, you're putting a lot of pressure on your knees, maybe on your ankles, maybe on your wrist, then those areas of your body are going to start to get inflamed, right? Because there's too much weight. It starts to get irritated. There's damage that's caused there, and anytime we hurt our bodies in any way, our body goes into that like immune response, and it immediately tries to heal, right? So that's why when you twist your ankle, what happens? Your ankle gets swollen, you break your leg, your leg gets swollen because it's going into repair mode. When your body goes into repair mode, there is inflammation or swelling, and that swelling is a result of increased fluids that's going to that area, because that increased fluid has all sorts of hormones that are being released and different cells to help fix and make it better, what is experiencing that damage. So that inflammation or that swelling, that increased body fluid is going to cause increased weight, because now you got more body fluid there. And so the idea is, don't push yourself so much that you're causing injury, you're causing inflammation. You're not going to have the swelling, you're not going to have that increased body fluid, and then you're not going to have that increased weight. You're going to be losing weight the way you would like to. So again, yes, exercise is good, but we don't want to be overdoing it at all. How temperance is taking those things which are most beneficial to us and using those things in moderation, not too much, not too little, our eating, our exercise, and so forth. Temperance is also staying away from those things that are bad for us. Any bad habit, we are just going to do away with those. We are going to abstain from those completely, altogether. There's no moderation in those. It's just eliminate it, period. Bad habits, it could be things like drinking alcohol. We are really better off without it. Drinking alcohol can sometimes cause damage to the liver. Smoking, we are better off to do without it altogether. If you find some benefits there, the harm outweighs the benefits more. It's not worth it. Smoking sometimes can tend to cause damage to the veins. And bad habits like video game addiction or other types of addiction. There's all kinds of addiction. It could be, video game, it could be eating. Sometimes we overindulge and we just overeat. Sometimes it could be pornography. Sometimes it could even be sugar. Sometimes it could be substances. It's those things is just harmful to the body. We just want to eliminate them altogether. Do you find yourself quoting this same verse that is found in Romans chapter 7, verse 19? It says, "For the good that I want to do, I do not do, but I practice the very evil that I do not want." Does that happen? You want to do good, but you find yourself not doing that good. Instead, you're doing this evil, you're doing the bad, you don't want to do it, but you find yourself doing the bad. It's like it's easier for us to do that which is not good for us than to do that which is good for us. This is a struggle that is so common in our human lives, in the human nature. Why is that? How do we break the bad habits? How do we build the good habits? How do addictions form? And how does one overcome them? That is a good question, because overcoming an addiction is very difficult. It's near impossible, but I want to tell you that it is possible to overcome. And if you're wondering, well, how can I do that? If you're hungry to learn, how do I go about doing that? Because that passage that you shared with me, Joanne, yes, that's exactly how I feel, but I don't know how to do it. Give me some direction. I would be glad to give you some help and direction, but I want to tell you that we have come to the end of our time together during this podcast. Next time we meet, which is going to be the fourth Saturday of the month, I am going to be talking about addictions. What is an addiction? Why does it even form? How did it form? You may not even realize that this was happening and this was going on. The next thing you know, you may not have even realized that you were addicted to something until one day you decided, oh, I can quit if I want to. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove it to myself I can quit. And you find yourself struggling. You find yourself going crazy and you go back to that habit. You go back to that item that you just cannot stay away from, or that behavior that you can't change. And then you realize the reality. I am addicted. How did that even happen? How did you get to that place? I'm going to be talking more about that the next time we meet. And then I am going to give you some ways in which you can overcome that addiction. I promise you it is possible. Just to remind you, our Abundant Wellness podcast takes place the second and fourth Saturday of the month. So we are at the second Saturday of the month. I'll see you in a couple of weeks for the fourth Saturday of the month, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I am here in Texas, so remember, 3 o'clock Texas time. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Please go ahead and visit my website, journeytoabundantwellness.com. Again, it's journeytoabundantwellness.com. I have social media that you can tap into there. You can, watch this video again on YouTube. That is my business number there. I kind of threw out a question to you, but if you feel like, man, I can't wait until 2 weeks, I'd love to be able to talk to you now. I'd love to be able to get some help here. Please go ahead and give me a call, and I would be glad to see what I can do to give you that support that you need. Well, I want to thank you again so much for joining me today. I wish you a wonderful rest of your Saturday. I hope you are resting. I'm going to finish off my rest, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. And until next time, take care and God bless.